No one in Gray Hollow ever said the word sacrifice. That was the first thing Mara noticed. They used softer language, older words. Words that sounded like care, like tradition, like inevitability. Returning, settling, being put back where they belonged. Mara had arrived in Gray Hollow at the start of autumn, when the leaves turned the color of rusted blood and the air smelled faintly of damp soil and wood smoke. The village lay tucked between low hills, far from highways, cell towers, or anything that hummed with modern life. It was the kind of place maps forgot unless you already knew to look. She had come to teach. The schoolhouse was small, stone-built, with a single bell and windows clouded by age. 12 children sat at their desks the first morning, boots muddy, faces solemn. They watched her with the same quiet intensity she would later come to associate with the entire village. The children did not fidget. They did not whisper. They watched at IT was the third week when the talking began. Little Jonah Pike was the first. He was 6, small for his age, with hair the color of straw and eyes too old for his face. During arithmetic, he stopped writing and tilted his head as if listening. "Jonah," Mara said gently. He didn't answer. His lips moved, soundless. The other children did not react. None of them laughed or pointed. They simply kept their eyes on their slates, hands steady, expressions tight. "Jonah," Mara repeated. He blinked, as if waking, looked at her. "They're counting wrong," he said. Mara smiled reflexively. "Who is?" "The ones under the stairs." The room went very quiet. Mara felt it then, a subtle shift, like pressure changing before a storm. "What stairs?" she asked carefully. Jonah frowned. "All stairs." That evening, she mentioned it to Mrs. Calder, the woman who rented her the small attic room above the bakery. Mrs. Calder paused while kneading dough. "Ah," she said. "So it's starting." "They remember," Mrs. Calder said softly. She returned to her work, the conversation clearly over. Over the following days, more children began to show signs. Lucy Harmon refused to climb the school steps, sobbing that something underneath was whispering her name. Thomas Reed began answering questions before they were asked, as if someone else had already given him the answers. A pair of twins started humming a low, rhythmic tune during lessons, perfectly synchronized, eyes unfocused. And always, the phrase returned. "Under the stairs." Mara tried to apply reason. Mass suggestion. Shared folklore. Stress. But the village did not react with fear. They reacted with resignation. Parents watched their children closely, not with panic, but with sorrow. Conversation stopped when Mara entered rooms. Doors closed quietly. One afternoon, she noticed Jonah was gone. His desk was empty, his slate erased. "Where's Jonah?" she asked. The children did not answer. Finally, Lucy spoke, her voice flat. "He was returned." Mara confronted the headman, Elias Rowe, a tall man with deep-set eyes and a voice like dry leaves. "You took a child," she said. "We returned him," Elias corrected. "To where?" "To where he came from." "That doesn't mean anything." Elias studied her. "It means everything." He gestured toward the village square, where stone houses clustered tightly, each with a narrow set of stairs leading down into darkness. Cellars, root rooms, old foundations. "Gray Hollow is built on older ground," he said. "Older than the village. Older than memory." Mara crossed her arms. "And children talking to imaginary things is your proof?" Elias's gaze hardened. "They are not imaginary." That night, Mara couldn't sleep. The house creaked as all old houses did, but beneath it was another sound. A soft, layered murmur, like voices overlapping just beyond comprehension. She found herself standing at the top of the stairs leading down to the bakery cellar. She had never gone down there. Mrs. Calder had told her it was unsafe. The air was colder near the steps, heavier. Mara placed her foot on the first stair. The whispering grew clearer. Not words, not quite, but something expectant. She stepped back, heart racing. In her room, she locked the door and did not sleep. Village lore revealed itself slowly. In fragments, in half-phrases, stories told around hearths, always ending before the important part. Long ago, the village had been plagued by disappearances. Crops failed. Animals went mad. People claimed to hear things beneath their homes, scratching, crying, voices that sounded like loved ones long dead. They had tried to leave. The hills would not let them. Paths twisted. Roads vanished. Travelers returned days later, hollow-eyed, unable to explain where they had been. And then, someone listened. Someone heard the truth. The things beneath the ground were not monsters. They were people, or what people became when forgotten. Mara found the journal of a previous schoolteacher hidden behind a loose brick. It was old, brittle. They speak to the children because the children still hear the old way, one entry read. They speak to them because the children have not yet learned to close their minds. Another entry, shakier. We tried not returning them. The ground opened anyway. The ritual happened at night. Mara learned this too late. Lucy Harmon was next. She followed the villagers silently as they gathered, cloaked and carrying lanterns, moving toward Lucy's home. Lucy walked between her parents, calm, almost serene. "You don't have to do this," Mara whispered. Lucy looked at her with pity. "They're lonely," Lucy said, "and they're hungry." The stairs in Lucy's home were old, narrow, leading into blackness that swallowed lantern light. Symbols were carved into the wood, spirals, hands, eyes. Elias began to speak. Words older than the village. Words that made Mara's teeth ache. Lucy knelt. She placed her hands on the bottom step, and the stair opened, not breaking, unfolding, revealing depth far greater than the house could contain. Hands reached up. Too many. Too thin. Human. Lucy did not scream. She smiled. Mara fled that night. She ran until her lungs burned, until the trees closed in, until the ground seemed to breathe beneath her feet. And then she heard it. The whispering. From beneath the roots. From beneath the hills. From beneath everything. She understood then. The village was not cursed. It was contained. The children were not sacrificed. They were replacements. Because the things under the stairs were once children too. And if they were not fed, they would come up. Mara returned at dawn. She stood in the village square as Elias waited. "You know now," he said. She nodded. "And you understand why we do it?" "Yes," she whispered. "And you'll stay silent." Mara looked at the schoolhouse, at the empty desks, at the stairs beneath every home. "I will," she said, "because some traditions are not cruel. They are necessary, and Grey Hollow still stands."